Hi, this is Randy Randall of No Age and host of the podcast Hyphenate with Randy Randall. I want to welcome our newest sponsor of the show, DistroKid. DistroKid helps musicians get their music on all the major streaming platforms, and artists keep 100% of their royalties. Hyphenate listeners get 30% off at distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate. Again, that's distrokid.com/VIP/HYPHENATE. Go get your music streaming everywhere now. We'd like to thank our sponsor, iZotope, the absolute leaders in intuitively designed plugins for audio restoration, mixing, and mastering. At iZotope.com, you'll find a plethora of tools and suites that will enhance your audio production, whether it's voice, video, podcast, or a full production recording session. Check out the industry standard audio repair tool, RX11, or the multi-tool mixer plugin, Neutron 5, or the powerful Ozone 11 mastering suite, plus tons more. Go to iZotope.com and use the code FRET10 at checkout for 10% off. That's FRET10 to get 10% off at checkout. And again, the website is iZotope.com, IZOTOPE.com. Thank you for tuning in to Hyphenate Halftime. This is our show for Monday, April 7th. I'm the man known as Randy Randall. I'm also joined by the man known as Aaron Farley. How do you do, the man known as Aaron Farley?
I'm doing well.
Aaron Farley, the man? Like
yes.
Portugal, the man?
Sure. I'll take it.
Okay, you can be Aaron Farley, the band. There we go.
AFTB.
Mm-hmm. That's what the kids call you these days.
Yes.
Word on the street.
Yeah, I was saying thank you for the mic cable, which I haven't picked up yet. But we were talking about how I was trying to do the math of how old my mic cable is, and realizing this mic cable has also moved with me 5 different times, 5 different houses probably, and the fact that it's even still working, although I'm sure it'll go out halfway through this show, and I won't have a backup because all my other ones are loaned out right now.
Touch the mic, touch the cable, tap it. No, it's fine.
But we were talking about the idea of buying nice stuff instead of dealing with a bunch of old stuff, or buying like this. I remember a friend of my parents. I don't know why we were in this discussion. Maybe I was buying a radio or something. And he is like, always buy the mid-range one. You don't buy the cheapest one. Always buy a brand name, Sony or something like that. But you never have to buy the most expensive one, because usually the most expensive one is going to be like 5% better. But the mid-range one is always going to be at least like 50 to 60% better than the cheaper one. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, I always remembered that. I don't always take that advice, but but I mean, even for headphones, when I was like, I don't need really nice headphones, but I do need headphones that are going to work. I'm like, I'm going to get the $50 Sony headphones instead of or whatever, $70 or $60 or something, instead of the $25 whatever they were at the time. And now I've had these headphones for like 10 years. And they're nice.
Yeah. I think it's so interesting, because these are those things you have to really kind of come up through experience and mistakes and hard knocks and those kind of things. You know what I mean? I feel like this is like prime dad conversation.
Yeah.
If anybody out there is looking for some real dad talk, this is where it happens. But what I say is, with like guitar cables and mic cables, for years I just had whatever I had, and it would stop working all the time. Like I'd be playing a show, I'm like, I don't know, is it the cables? Is it this? Is it and I'd have to chase down the thing, and you're jiggling chords on stage, and you're doing all this stuff. And I got reached to an age or a point where I was just like, I'm just going to throw away everything that doesn't work. Like it's whatever value I'm losing in that proposition. Like, but it could still be good. the amount of headache and hassle
Yeah.
and like just like my stomach dropping out of my chest, or just like the sheer like fuck, this is broken right when I don't want it to be broken. And then I just bought like 4 new mic cables. I probably spent $200 and bought like the Mogami ones from Guitar Center, and then they always had the thing like, oh yeah, if it breaks, you could return it. So I felt like it's like you're buying the product and you're buying a little bit of an insurance policy on it too, with something like that. And again, I don't know if guitar, we got into about Guitar Center last time, but there was this feeling like, I don't know if they still do this or not, but it was that kind of feeling. It's like, okay. And I literally had like Dean's cymbal stand fall over and like cut a mic in half, like a cymbal like fell exactly right on a cable.
Oh my God.
And I was like, fantastic, I'm gonna go return this. And literally walked in, no receipt, just said, hey, here's my name, here's, I bought it on this thing. And they would keep track of your customer account.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh yeah, you got it, here you go grab another one of the same kind right off the shelf. I'm like, oh, sweet, thanks, bye.
Amazing. And this is why they're $10 more a piece
or whatever it was. Yeah because if I could just,
it's like the warranty is built in.
Exactly.
To the price.
And I felt so happy about that. There was years, I think when we were real busy, like we'd even have our assistant like go in, like I just would have a box of stuff. I was like, go take all of this back to Guitar Center and just get new ones in boxes. Cause I just can't have any of this stuff. Like the possibility of like, here's all the stuff with like broken knobs on it. Here's this mixer, here's this thing, or the power supplies cracking at the thing. And it kind of shorts out. You can see the wires on it. Like, I don't want any of that stuff. Not that I was feeling like I was so fancy, but it just became a thing of reliability, over time. You're just like,
totally.
Oh God.
You just know it's going to work.
You want to be able to plug the thing in. And now I bought a cable tester, which is the real, now we're getting into the real dad.
That's fancy.
Zone of like, I could test my own cables. I do not build my own cables. I have in the past bought cable building kits and those kinds of things, cause then you just get to that point like, I'll just build it myself. I'll just do it you can't trust it. Just build it yourself. But yeah, no, years and years. I mean, you have to be able to build. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I was going to say you have to know how to, then you have to trust yourself to build it.
Right.
It's like packing your own parachute. It's like, oh, come on. Really? I'm going to be the one to pack my own parachute?
Yeah. No. You either trust yourself the most or you don't trust yourself at all.
Yeah.
Of anybody. Like,
I'm not
an
jumping out of a plane.
I would like somebody who does 100 of these a day.
Yeah.
Not me that does one.
But you want to make sure that guy or gal is not hungover or it's just like another morning of packing parachutes. Where's my beer?
Oh my God. But yeah, but that idea of knowing how to buy stuff, I feel like is very much like a son or a child parent sort of discussion. Like, what is the right thing? Because most of the time, I think I spent most of my 20s and certainly teens and most of my 30s even was like that like I don't have any money. Like I just have to buy the cheapest thing. Like I was we talked about I'd buy like 100%. $20 used tires one at a time.
Yeah,
and they would work for about half a year. So I probably spend $40 a tire,
and they'd throw your alignment off, and you'd be.
I didn't care. Yeah, it was a piece of shit.
Steering
the
wheel
car was
is like.
But the idea of buying a whole set of 4 new tires for whatever $800, $600 back then, $500 back then. I never at any point had that $500 at one time. Because it was always going out to rent or to something else, but it was so those types of things you make like I had like so much money invested in reconing speakers. I think I talked about this on the Brian Gibson lightning bolt interview of that of just wasting money like reconing these like bullshit speakers because I was blowing them all the time until I realized you could spend whatever $60 reconing the speaker or $90 for just a new speaker.
Just a brand new speaker.
The new speaker's going to last longer. Once I started reconing these things, and they weren't like they were like vintage speakers or cool speakers, or they had a great basket or a big magnet or anything. They were just bullshit cheap speakers that I spent. You
just felt like you were saving $30 and you could use that $30.
Yeah,
for food.
Well, it's that feeling. Yeah, like why would I waste $30 just to buy a new one when the used one's work just as well? And then I realized, the used one doesn't work just as well.
And there's something also I think about being young, or even I think it might even be a kind of creativity thing too, of like feeling like you're getting a deal, feeling like you figured out
these parents, these adults are just wasting their money. They're throwing the money. They're so stupid.
Yeah,
They
I
don't
got
know.
this way, guys. And then, but then there's
It
also
takes twice as long. And I'm gonna,
yeah,
I'm gonna worry. I'm gonna drive across town. I gotta go 2 states away, but I'm gonna save $30.
yeah. And but you're like, I'm not going to think of the amount of gas that I'm using. I'm not going to think of the fact that I'm going to be gone for 3 days driving to Arizona to save $30 for a speaker.
Yes.
But I do think that there's a thing in there. At least this happens with me, is that I enjoy the search.
Mm-hmm.
Like even we were in Home Depot yesterday, and I'm like, I love going in Home Depot and not asking any questions and trying to find stuff. I'll take an hour trying to find like something I don't even know if they carry it. And that was yesterday. I was trying to.
That sounds
Someone
like a good one.
suggested, like I'm like bundling all this cardboard for because I have
For
to use
fun?
all this cardboard for my class for a project. And someone was like, just get those big rubber bands. And I'm like, oh, right. Big rubber bands. It's like the industrial kind of rubber bands. I'm like,
They don't
where do you
have
think
those at
they
Home
have
Depot.
those?
They
Home
don't
Depot,
have those,
maybe
no.
a Home Depot. So I go to Home Depot and I look
Definitely
around.
don't have those.
And then I finally go, you guys have big rubber bands? And the guy just looks at me with this look and he just shakes his head like,
You fucking crazy?
No. But I'm like, how do you not have big rubber bands at Home Depot? Where do you get big rubber bands? I don't want to order them on Amazon. I want to search for them.
BigRubberBands.com.
Yeah, I'm going to drive to every single hardware store in the area to try to find big rubber bands, because that seems like more fun than asking some guy who knows. What's the fun in that? I don't want to have good speaker. I don't want to have good cables. I want to have an hour where I figure out how to make the bad cable work for an hour and feel justified in my genius.
Wow. Yeah, you bring up so much there. Let's really dig into this one.
Let's get into our mental issues,
yeah.
Randy.
I mean, we're here to talk about Shannon Lay's interview from last week. Obviously,
but we'll get to that.
But first, dad mumbling. I have to say, I did not come about this. Your time is valuable. Formulation for decades, and it really wasn't until I was married that my wife Shannon said, like, why are you like? I would rather just pay you the $100 to not drive all over town looking for that guitar pedal that you're going to save $100 on. Because it's meaning that she has to watch the kids. It's like, she's, I'd rather pay you to babysit and instead of drive and then just buy the pedal. I just buy you.
You're like,
pedal.
Wait, I could make some money here.
Yeah. Because I was waking up at like 6 a.m. to go drive down to Orange County. And she's like, what? And she was always so just like, okay, yeah, sure. Whatever. If it's for work or if it's for equipment you got to buy. And then she's like, wait, what are you doing? Why are you driving all over?
Yeah.
I was like, well, it's a thing and it's used and it's like $100 cheaper than if I bought it online. And this guy said he was going to be there, but then he wasn't there. So then I had to wait till he got home. And then she's just looking, she's like, what the fuck?
You told me to meet him in Long Beach.
Yeah.
And you're like, but I'm in Colton right now.
Yeah. Well, I did this one thing. I had this good day when I sold a guitar in Santa Ana for like, $1,200, and then I drove to Beverly Hills and bought a microphone for $1,000, and then drove back, and so I made $200 on the deal, but I was gone for like 8 hours by the time, just driving in LA traffic, and by the time it was and whatever.
Yeah.
And she had to pick the kids up, and she was taking time out of her day and her work and everything. And
she had to take like hours off, and you're like, oh wait, okay.
This is just more of a lesson of just, I think, living with a partner in your life, that you have to respect their time and their things, and you're not just living on your own and just have days of time to waste, and just like, all right.
When you're like,
waste time.
Wait, you take your time seriously? I don't take my time seriously. My time is like,
it's for my
is like,
I just while away the hours here.
I'm basicly like on that show Pickers.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm like looking for deals. I'm like, can you believe I saved $20 on this? Speaking of Pickers, have you seen that Instagram? I haven't seen it in a while, but it's this guy that just goes to garage sales, and he's really good at it. He's like a Hispanic dude. He's got a ton of energy, and he goes and he's like I'm gonna buy. Can I buy this whole table of stuff? For $100 or whatever. And then he says how much he makes. Oh my God. I would sit and watch that for like 3 hours and watch this guy. He'd be like,
what's the one?
He made
$500.
He made $580 off these vintage LA like 80s t-shirts that this woman had. And then they didn't know that they had a pair of Travis Scott like
Oh, wow.
Nikes but then like little stuff too. He's like, and I made $20 off these old basketballs or whatever. And I'm like, that's the life. Like to me,
he's
that
cracked the
just
code.
seems like,
This
yeah,
is
if
it.
I was
Living
good, the
best
problem
life.
is I don't have the drive. I don't have that. I think we talked about this in the last
Yeah.
one. I just don't have the drive. I'm like, I love the idea. Have you heard this theory that you use as much, like you get as much excitement out of coming up with an idea and going over, like you release the same amount of endorphins coming up with a great idea and going through it in your head as you actually do like finishing whatever that task is. Like if you have a great
The conception
idea and you're
is
like,
just
oh
as
my
much of the
God.
goal as that.
And this
actual
is why
doing.
so
Yeah,
many
yeah.
people like come up with great ideas. And then when it comes to do it, they're like, well, it seemed like such a good idea because you've already spent all your endorphins for it. But the people that actually do it are the ones that are like, no, I have this insane amount of drive to actually do it, where most people are. So I'm somewhere in between. Sometimes I'll get enough of the drive. And then once I start, usually I can't quit.
I've-
But
My
I
wife has
love
also
this
taught me
idea of,
this. My wife has taught me this thing too, where I just take pictures of dumb things I see, and I don't actually have to buy them. Just taking the picture is enough.
Yeah,
Is enough
that's
of a
amazing.
satisfaction because then I can show her
You're
later, like, look at this dumb thing, and she's like, "That's great." She's like, "I hope you didn't buy it." I was like, "No, I didn't." She's like,
No,
"Thank
no.
you for not buying it." Because really, all I
Just put
wanted to
the-
do was find the dumb thing, buy it, and show it to her, and be like, "Look at this dumb thing." And now it's got to live in our house for years, and
You have to have the
she-
wall of dumb things where you
Yes.
you print out your photos
Well,
of
I mean,
all
that's
the great ideas.
that's kind of what this room is here. I have a room of dumb
It's
things.
a room of dumb things.
Yeah.
It's
But I
amazing.
enjoy them so much. But you have to realize that there's the 99% of the things I see in the world I don't actually need. I can just take a picture of it and show it
Yeah.
to somebody, and we can laugh at it or post it online. Those are so great. Instagram exists now. And take a picture of a dumb thing, show it to everybody, and they all say, "Wow, that's really dumb." And then you go, "There, thanks. That was great." That's all I wanted to hear, was to show
Yeah.
everyone else the dumb thing I found.
And you get the the satisfaction of the likes or the people going OMG or
This
like
was-
the
this
laughing
was-
emoji. And
This
you're
was
like, I did.
after
It worked.
This was after I bought a 6-foot portrait of a guy that kind of looked like Lou Reed. This was after I bought that for $20 at the thrift store, and she was like, "Okay, we got to reconsider this thing. Like, that thing
You
is not
gotta
living in our
stop
house."
this.
He was like a kind of young, dorky teenager that kind of looked like Lou Reed, but it was painted really well. And it was like
Was it
from the 70s.
framed?
Yes, it had a huge.
Oh, it
gold
wasn't
frame
like a
all
rolled up
around it.
canvas or anything.
No,
it was like
no,
a,
it was a
6
giant
foot frame.
portrait thing. Yeah, I thought it was great. I used it as the
Oh,
cover
you need a
of my
store.
first like solo tape thing I did. I
Oh,
like,
that's
took a picture of
amazing.
that and I used it as that, and it didn't make any sense, but I loved it so much. And then I think I ended up leaving it downtown at our studio,
Mm.
and then kind of left it out in the common area, and I think eventually it just got absorbed into the
This got
into
donated.
the land of downtown stuff that would happen.
Yeah, that place was crazy. That place had all sorts of stuff going on in every room.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
there's just areas. It's that kind of thing of like where you don't want to throw something away, but you don't have anyone to give it to. You just put it out on the curb.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff like that. We just put stuff out on the curb. It was right near Staples Center, and
Mhm.
then stuff would just disappear. And like,
Yeah.
I felt better than throwing it away. It's like somebody somewhere is going to figure out something to do with this.
Yeah.
Pass-
There's enough
Pay it
people
forward.
driving around trying to find parking that they'll eventually drive by whatever you have put out on the side at least 3 times, and they're like, I've driven by it the 3rd time, I should probably grab that.
Well, yeah, and there's just enough just new traffic as well. There's probably like 5,000 cars that would drive by that
Oh my
building
God.
a day.
Yeah.
Easily.
It's a crazy spot.
Yeah. Anyway.
Anyway.
but not buying the most expensive thing, not buying the cheapest thing. I agree.
Yeah.
But you kind of have to know your category. You have to know what you're sort of looking at, and that's the hardest part. Is I love when there's a new thing to look at or to buy or to price out, and it's like you have to kind of get the top and the bottom and sort of find what makes sense in the middle to where you actually get some kind of value proposition. Because again, you go too cheap, and then it's just junk in a box.
Yeah.
Which I think is sort of the main sort of like pricing strategy of Amazon.
Yep.
Is this like confusion bombing you? It's like, okay, how to make the cheapest piece of shit, in a box cheap enough to make you go, well, fuck it. I don't know. It's cheap. I'll just try it.
Yeah.
And then you get it and you go, it's junk shit.
Yeah.
And was it worth it? Was it so cheap that it was worth it? It's worth it for me to return. Because if they make it too expensive, then you go, well, fuck, I'm going to return it then. But I think there's a whole strategy to that. Of like, it was under $10 and I don't really want to drive to Whole Foods to return this thing. So fuck it. All right. I'm not going to return it.
Yeah. Or even like $30. I feel like sometimes like, okay, this is going to be, that is when you put you'll spend 17 hours trying to save $10.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you go, I'm going to box this up and return it. And I'm like, it's not worth it.
I know.
That's going to take me like an hour and 15 minutes probably. And I mean, I have a box and I have all this stuff and I have tape and I can print out the labels, but you know what? I have so much to do in this next hour on Instagram, scrolling Instagram, that I am not going to go to the post office to return this.
I think it is a significant portion of our economy is spent and it lives in that gray zone of like, I just don't want to return it, but it's not really useful. And you're not actually, and you're probably just throwing it in the trash, but it's not really worth the time to go return it.
Yeah. I mean, I've found too that like, I think a lot of our economy now has become like shopping, just like shopping for stuff, but never buying it. Like a ton of time. Even I was something the other day. I don't know, printer ink or so, something. And I spent like 30 minutes just going like, well, can I get, so if I get the off-brand printer ink, I have to get this thing to reset the chips and I have to do this and
not worth it.
And then it works for a while and then the printer updates and then, maybe I need a new printer. What are the new printers coming out? No. Okay, let me see and I know I'm not going to spend $400 on a new printer, right? Even though a whole set of ink is $110. I might as well just buy a new printer every third time. It's crazy.
You might be onto something there.
I mean, it's, a printer is actually worth like $1,000, but then they sell them for $300 because the ink is worth like $4, but they sell that for $20. So then they make all their money.
Margin is in it's there.
They lose money on the printer and then they make their money back in like 6 months on the ink.
Yeah. There's no easy way. All of the conveniences will eventually kill you. I was going to say too, you were out in the eastern part of Southern California.
Yes.
Where there was a company whose politics are horrific. And I don't even want to bring them up.
Okay.
But I will say in terms of bullshit, in terms of looking for bullshit and looking at bullshit and scouring a company that has everything. If you go, who has large rubber bands?
Yeah.
Uline. Are you familiar with the Uline?
That is where
form of the ecology of products that Uline ships. I think the woman that runs it is like a horrible right-wing person who is just on the worst side of that spectrum. So I really don't promote them.
Yeah.
However, I would get that once you buy one thing from them, you get like the giant phone book catalog sent.
I have a stack of them.
Yeah, religiously.
And I go through them every once.
Oh God, they have everything. They literally
you're right.
A place that has everything.
You're right. And I feel like that was one of those companies during the first Trump administration when it came out that they were super promoting. They were actually writing like political things on the back of the catalogs that so many people in our industries just went, oh no, not Uline. Come on. Stay apolitical. I love the Uline catalog so much. And when I'm feeling lonely, I get the Uline catalog and I go through and go, oh my God, maybe I need a pallet jack.
What can I do with this? Yes.
You can just buy a pallet jack? Do I have any pallets? I could buy a pallet jack. What else could I use a pallet jack for? Oh, they have little ones. They have like a mini pallet jack. It's only like a couple $100. I would think a pallet jack would be more than that. And then you go, and then you get to the whole 25 pages that are just storage racks. And you just go, oh, okay. And then you go out and measure your studio. You measure the garage and you're like, this would really, you know what? These baker's racks would really help. How tall can I? Okay, wait. How big are these boxes? Oh, wait. I got to go to the boxes section. How much can I get bins for? Oh my God, hours. And then you never buy anything. I think once or twice I bought boxes and like some clear bags from Uline.
They got. I bought 7-inch mailers,
Oh,
to
okay.
mail a 7-inch record, or even 12-inch mailers. Now there's another place here in town, Box City, that has several locations, a big yellow store that Dean hips me to, and they have
Oh, yeah.
all the same box stuff.
They have one of those in Pasadena, right?
Those are great. They're everywhere. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Box City is good. I have no idea what their politics are. They could be something equally is just as bad, but
listen, as long as you don't tell anybody, there's no way to know. I just want boxes. I don't want politics in my storage, please. Come on. Keep politics out of storage.
I'm right now in the market for a type of system where you can put a QR code on the outside of your bin, of your like plastic tote, bin box.
Okay.
And then there's an app where you scan the QR code and it'll tell you everything that's in that bin.
Ooh, so that's a good one.
Catalog your storage bins in the garage, so that because then, and just as equally, like when you go to put stuff back away, then each thing you could put a little like barcode on the bottom of each thing, like say like for Christmas, like each Christmas decoration has the scan, so you scan it and it'll tell you which box it goes into.
You just need to start a thrift store, Randy.
Honestly, I'm doing inventory for all of my shit here. Like, yeah, let's just.
You have the perfect mental capacity for like used music,
vintage
thrift.
But as far as I know, the brick and mortar retail is the last thing that you'd be starting a business of. And 2025, I think. If you told me this like 6 years ago, I'd go, you know what, you might have something. But I think we've gone past any realm of it. Should be an online store is what it needs to be. And then I'm just building a website.
Yeah, and you're shipping a lot.
I ship already. I do all the shipping for the No Age Bandcamp. I've gotten good at shipping. I have my own little like drug scale, and I can mail, and I got a pretty decent shipping racket going on with like the sticker paper. You print it out and put it in a bag. I do enjoy all that part of it. Yeah, throw some stickers in there. That's the best place to put the stickers.
This might be good for you. My brother-in-law.
Yep.
Nice. My brother-in-law does like eBay store. He was highway patrol for a long time, and then he retired early, and then because he was making so much money off of eBay, like just an eBay store. He goes to garage sales and finds stuff, and for a long time he was making almost all of his money off of DVDs.
What?
So he'd find DVDs at garage sales because he's in Southern California, so it's a lot of industry people, and they'll have they're like, oh, we have a DVD collection of 500 DVDs or whatever, and so he basically had a DVD
I'll give
store.
You $50 for 500 DVDs. Yeah,
in his garage. I mean, maybe even less. And
that sounds like
DVD
fun.
store in his garage, and he was selling one at a time. And some of these DVDs, people would buy them for $10 a piece or whatever, and he got them for a penny. And he was making the majority of his money on DVDs, sometimes old VHS, Blu-ray, and then and also CDs.
That sounds like so much
out of
fun.
print, like stuff that is out of print.
Yeah.
And there's and then it became this whole world of like, well, if you find these aren't even on streaming. Yeah. Like Cocoon is not on streaming. And I wanted to watch Cocoon. I was like, oh, the kids
is that an Orion thing? Why I don't know if Orion went that way.
So what ended up happening? He found, cause I'm like, if you ever find Cocoon, let me know. For whatever reason, I just wanted to watch it, and it wasn't on anything.
He's like, you hit on
and then I started looking it up, and it ends up that before streaming happened, some big, like alcohol brand or whatever, bought a company that had the rights to Cocoon, and Cocoon. They didn't want to go through all of the stuff of getting a hold of everybody because it was made early enough to where they never.
Cocoon the Return, though, was on Amazon Prime.
Yes, but we don't need that. We don't need that. We need the original Cocoon where they go out on the boat at the end. And
wow, there's a great link. Maybe I can put this in the show notes. Giantfreakingrobot.com has Cocoon streaming. Cocoon 1985's Cocoon is being erased from existence. Here's where you can find it. Whoa.
Yeah. So what happened is this company bought the rights, and they're like, "This is not worth. Why would we go through all the stuff to get everybody to sign the rights, digital rights for this? So it's just going to go away." And I was like, is that real? That's crazy. But I'm sure, like in 50 years, it'll come up, which is probably only 10 years from now.
To be
Like the copyright or whatever will come up, and then they'll be
I
able.
think it's
to
100 years. I think you have to have 100 years. So it'll be a little
100
bit
now.
longer. I think it was always 100
Jeez.
years. Yeah, for the copyright to lapse.
I just loved that movie so much. I don't know
That's
why
so
I did. All
funny.
the old people jumping in the pool and getting young, and
the pool is actually on the USC campus. I remember when I was going to school there.
Oh, really?
Like you could like go in and like see this indoor pool with like all these like.
Are the cocoons still down there?
No, but I've never.
You're like, oh, what are those rocks in the bottom of this USC
I've never
pool?
actually
It's so
seen
awkward.
Cocoon.
Really?
No,
oh, that's a good one. I mean, I'm sure it doesn't hold up. I'm sure it's goofy and horrible. I don't even know why that movie.
Oh,
that
something
movie,
about the score. James Horner won't clear it for streaming. There's something about that's always a big thing. If stuff isn't online, it's usually because of music rights. That was like the Muppet Show for years, because they'd have to clear, because the music rights, if you put music in a film or TV show,
yeah,
that you'd have to clear it. But they didn't have, obviously streaming didn't exist in the 80s or earlier.
So when they had all those
70s,
bands come in and
they didn't
play.
sign deals for streaming. So now all of the sync licensing thing for music, if you're going to license music to any kind of form of media, you sign in perpetuity for the universe.
Yeah.
Basically it's for whatever other version of any way for us to distribute this thing microchipped straight to your brain. Like you're signing away all rights for all forms of media, because they didn't have that in the back. Wow.
Yeah.
What a trip.
Well, that's
Cocoon.
funny.
That's the one.
Could you imagine though, if you're the guy and they're like, no, we just want to release it on DVD. You'll get the same, percentage as you got for whatever. And they're like,
nah, I'll fuck up this whole thing.
I'd be like, well, it's not going to affect your life in any way. It's like, you got enough money, and if you don't do this, you get no money. Nah.
Wow.
That's all right.
It's crazy. Well, everything gets like shrunk down into like, these monopolies too, where it's like, it was Fox, and Fox was bought by Disney, and then Disney's got this, and then
and all these little things get lost in the way.
How funny.
Which is funny, but I don't, but I think so. So then but then he just made the majority of his money, but then he had all these stories of, he found someone, sold their uncle's, it's a good fake Rolex or whatever. And he's like, a couple $100. He's like, oh yeah. And then he looked at it and he's like, it doesn't seem like this thing is fake. And he took it to a guy and they're like, nope, this is real. $6,000. So he actually had all those, cause he's in like a Southern Cal, like a,
decent
West
part
Lake.
of town.
Yeah. Like a nice area where there's, like when people are having
sell Rolexes
like
at
very nice
garage
stuff.
sales. Yeah.
Or they're just like, I don't know, this thing's got to be fake. It was Uncle Jimmy's or whatever.
He didn't have that kind of money.
He didn't have this kind of money. It's like, turned out he did, guys.
I was gonna say the other video. I remember when I worked at video stores and worked at Amoeba, Delirious on VHS was out of for years. Like that was what Eddie Murphy wouldn't sign off on that. That was didn't go to DVD for years. That was a big one. Like, and same with Let It Be, the Beatles movie. There was like,
really?
There was like one short run of like VHS releases of that, and then it never got put out until now. I think Disney owns it all or whatever. Peter Jackson digitally AI'd it all, so they all have extra fingers and put it on.
That's how they got all those crazy chords.
Yeah.
It turns out they were all AI bots back then too.
Yeah. I love that though, but there's also a lot of, there's a whole like, again, like world of like cool distributors who that just pick up weird unknown films, like Vinegar Syndrome will just put out like weird bad things.
Just find old stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I wish I had that in me. I don't have that like, hey, this is the red vinyl that's the 70 grams instead, whatever, all of that stuff. I just don't have any of that in me. No, I wish I
I'm
did,
not really that great of a collect. I like the things I like, and I like them because they're fun, but the sheer like first pressing of this thing, like I don't give a fuck.
But I love those people though that are just get obsessed with something that nobody even knows exists really, until they get so obsessed with it and they create a thing that makes it popular, or that makes it like,
Yeah.
like I have these
Can change the whole
50
temperature on a
horror
thing.
films that
Yeah.
all kind of, now I've figured out a way for these things to all go together in this one time frame that were all made by this same producer, blah, blah, blah. And then it brings something back to life, kind of,
Mhm.
or like those people. I mean, I guess that's more of like almost a curation. I think it happens with music sometimes too, like people will be like, wait, there was these 5 years where there's Filipino psychedelic music that nobody knew about, or like Zamrock, those albums, this
Which
about
was
Zamrock.
no, what was that one?
So these in the 70s in Zambia,
Oh,
the government of Zambia, I believe it was like a English colony. I'm going to just guess here. There's English colony, and then they became locally governed, right? However that happened, they now had a Zambian local government. And as far as I remember, that the government said, we don't want any more English music, because before that it was like the Rolling Stones and everything else was playing on the radio. Only local music. Like, we need local culture back. So all these people who played music, and they were funding local bands to create Zambian music, right? Because they had only had this English music. But all of these bands, all they knew was English music. They all knew just like rock and roll, English beat, Rolling Stones, the Beatles, the Who. And so all these local bands started playing because that's all they would play. That was all they were allowed to play on the radio, was Zambian music. So you have these amazing Zambian rock bands
that's wild.
in the 70s, and it's so good because it's like you can feel the African rhythms like put in there, but it's still very like raw garage rock, Rolling Stones. It's so good, so good. But it really, like, there's a couple compilations and then a couple albums that came out in like a matter of, I don't know, 2 or 3 years.
Oh man,
And someone just told me about that when I was shooting on a on for Cleon Peterson, and they're like, "You heard of Zamrock?" Like, no. And then just for like a year, it was like, Zamrock, let's go. This is great. It's so
happening.
good. But those things of like, yeah, then someone found that. I don't know. I'm sure some US label found it recently and
I found
was like, oh my God, we got to compile all this stuff.
I'll put this link in the thing too. There's a website, Open Culture, has a article about it from August 3rd, 2020. Zamrock, an introduction to Zambia's 1970s rich and psychedelic rock scene.
Yeah.
Sounds like a video. Yeah.
And there's there's a band, what is it? Witch, I think,
yeah.
I
remember people talking about this. Yeah. But there's like already like 4 other witch bands. I mean, like, well, Witch.
I mean,
well, which witch is which?
Which witch? No, that's the other band. Which Witch is another one.
Yeah, it's different. Not to be confused with the Korean
Who's Who,
the K-pop band. Which. Well, Shannon Lay.
Yeah,
incredible interview.
Speaking of music,
yeah. I thought it was really fun to sit down. I was thinking about it too when I was doing the intros and everything for it. I was like, yeah, she was part of the Vans origin of this whole podcast. I don't even know if we've talked about that much since starting this thing. This is kind of an outgrowth or a sort of weird malignant outcropping from something that originally popped up during the pandemic. The whole hyphenate idea and everything.
Yeah, was it Hyphenate on the Vans podcast?
It was, yeah, Channel 66. Okay. Yeah, I think I had like a monthly streaming radio show that they'd asked me to do. But even I remember doing the concept, I was like, oh, I'll just do whatever I do. And they're like, I remember the people at Vans kind of were like, you should really come up with like an idea. Like, or some kind of thing. So we came up with this hyphenate thing, and then they had to run that up the flagpole at marketing at Vans. And I guess it was unique enough qualify for its own thing.
Yeah, that was
It
cool.
Desperate times back then. I remember it was just a thing of like, wait, you're going to pay me to do something music related? Like, this was great. This is the world could still spin. At least my world could keep spinning. I was like, okay, this is great. This is great.
And this was like a year into the pandemic, right?
Something like pretty quick. I feel like
or was it right
within
away?
that first year. Yeah. Within 2000. I think they had a whole catalog or whole like calendar of events that were scheduled for that downtown store.
Yeah. Oh, right. Because they had just opened that store, huh?
Yeah. And I think the Monster Children people were curating it. It kind of came out of some of our relationships with the Monster Children people from when we did the Soundfield installation there. There was the crew of Monster Children there. And I think they had gotten a contract to do activations and things at that downtown store. I was in talks with them prior to the whole shutdown to help curate like a cool, like, you know, all ages underground LA music sort of series and zine workshop and all these other kind of things that were fun there that I was going to do through Monster Children at the Van store. And then it was like, okay, well, that's not happening, but, you know, give us another month and we could come up with something else. So I think Monster Children did a lot of that programming and stuff, at least for the LA store. But yeah, it was fun. But that was the other part. It was like LA, Chicago, New York, and then London. No. Was it London or Mexico City? There was another one too. It was kind of this international thing. Like it was a streaming only website that had like live sets coming from Van stores all over the world.
Yeah, that was fun too because it was live. So then you'd watch. I mean, you did. Who else did you interview there?
I interviewed Andrew Reynolds.
Right.
And then who else did I do? Ray Barbie, Patrick O'Dell.
Oh, right.
Came on and yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, it was really fun. Yeah, it was cool. But anyway, but Shannon Lay. Yeah. And Devendra Barnhart came on, I think.
Right.
A couple other people. Yeah. But Shannon was part of that. And that was really fun doing that. And I remember her and I feel like we first really kind of hung out doing it, you know, doing that interview. And then we were even talking like, oh, what about this music? Because we were like, because we'd also would play music. We'd, you know, like talk a little bit and then DJ a little bit and then talk.
Oh, right. Because there was a live music component to that too. Because you'd play music and play records and stuff.
Which again, I think for archival purposes, you know what I mean? I think if you're just streaming music out, I think it's okay. But if you wanted to like have that up as an archive, you'd have to pay all the musicians you used again.
I wonder how that works. Like if you're not making, I guess it's because it's with Vans. Like if you were putting it up as like a non money making thing, but then if you're putting it up as Vans, it's probably considered money making no matter what, because it's sponsored.
I don't know.
I think I remember we used to get into this with the streaming music, like the online radio, way back when everything was first starting, and they were talking about shutting down all online radio because we weren't like paying back to the and we're like, well, we're paying for the studio. Like there's no advertising and we all pay to be DJs. Like we're putting in like $30 a month.
Oh my God.
To pay for the space.
This costs us money. We're coming out of pocket.
I don't know.
You're not paying the bands whose music you're paying to pay so that you can pay more music. If anything, the band should be paying you guys to play their music because
aren't they supposed to pay us? Isn't that how it works? The payola.
I'm looking for some payola here, guys. I think you got this all backwards. We're not supposed to pay you. You're supposed to pay us. We're cool.
Yeah. Well, the bands already came in and paid us $20 to play their song. So
yeah. Yeah, no, man,
that's awesome.
Music, the music world is crazy with that kind of stuff. In general, it works, but I think the larger streaming thing, as we all know, like doesn't work. You know, this whole idea of like, oh, but you can't play it because it has to be officially on an official streaming platform, which just rips the artist off officially. Why would you wouldn't want to have unofficial piracy? You could just have the official piracy of like streaming things.
Yeah, totally.
That's more likely what it is the people who are like actively ripping artists off don't want you to impinge on their racket that they have currently fleecing artists.
Yeah, totally. Like we're the ones ripping them off. You don't get to rip them off too.
Yeah, exactly. We can't all be ripping them off or else they're going to get tired of this.
Yeah. We got to make it look like we're out for their rights.
Yeah, exactly. We pay them, fractions of pennies for every time they spin it. Like, you guys are just gonna pay them nothing? Like, how
Yeah,
insulting is that?
yeah.
You think
We
you could
gave
just
them a dime.
for a 4,000 plays
Oh my
for,
God,
for 1
seriously
million
though,
plays,
right?
we'll give them a dime. But
Yeah,
you guys are just offering nothing. That's criminal.
yeah. What's a million? What's a million plays worth? Like $100 or something?
I think it's all depends on who you are too. I think
Yeah.
there's buckets, but last time I checked, it was 0.008 per play. You want to do
Okay.
times 1 million. There's 1,000. There's 100,000. There's a million. And that equals $8,000
Okay, for a million
for a
plays.
million. Yeah,
All right. I mean,
that could
whether
be
you're going to
something.
get that or not, then you have to split that.
Oh, right. But then, cut that in half. So
you
half
have to
goes to the
split that with
label if you have a good deal with your label,
yeah,
and then split that with probably management or some other person in there. So maybe $2,000
yeah,
comes to the best. So if you cut
if you're lucky.
that into 4. So, you know what I mean? So a million plays.
It's making like $600 a piece.
Say you're in a band with 4 people.
$600.
That, and then about 500 somewhere in there. Yeah. So you could have
good
a million
money.
plays and you could get $500. And you
Yeah,
might almost be able to afford rent 40 years ago.
Yeah, you could almost
could almost buy a Megami cable.
You could almost pay for 3 days of recording,
or one
between the 4 of you.
VHS copy of Cocoon.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you're lucky, that's where the real money goes.
Why am I not making any money? Well, because every time you make $500, you buy another VHS copy of Cocoon. It's like, but do you know how much? It's an investment. Those are going up.
Yeah. We streamed your song 1 million times. You should feel lucky.
Yeah, I'm going to buy outdated forms of media to invest in because it's the only thing you can count on.
Yeah.
We'll go as soon as we see that the stock market's rigged.
Yeah, we're back to the dark side.
Sorry.
Yeah. But
Shannon
I love
Lay, yeah.
I love the fact that she takes ceramics on the road and sells ceramics. Yeah. I love it.
Right.
And I do agree. I think ceramics is one of those art forms. It's so old that there's something built into our DNA about like building something out of, like, if you see clay, you're like, ooh, what should I build out of? I should make something out of that. Like even when you go to the beach and there's sand and you're like, ooh, we're going to build a sand castle, or I'm going to see if I can lump this sand as high as I can on the, like, there's just something that's built into us. And I think, like, I've done ceramics in the past, and like my grandma was really into ceramics, and there's just this there's this thing with making things out of clay and firing it, and then it being around. Like, I have a third of my grandma's ceramics collection. Mm-hmm. Like, she had a big collection, and when she passed away, she gave it out to all the cousins. I guess I don't have a third; it's a fifth of it, but it's like boxes and boxes, and then we even have her, like, she made a set of mugs for us every couple years from, like, our family, and we have some of those, and it's just amazing. It's like, yeah, this mug is 40 years old, and it's still drinking my coffee out of it.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and then when they crack, we just put them up on the shelf, and now they
become visual art pieces. Yeah. They're no longer functioning pieces.
Totally.
Visual pieces. I think it's cool, man. Yeah, no, Shannon's been so cool. Like, she gave me this mug that has dice on it. It's really nice. It's fun. And awesome. There was even one, I think, that kind of like got kind of messed up. Like, she was throwing it and it kind of all fell over. Mm-hmm. Was like, here, have this one. I was like, oh, this is amazing. Like, we just kind of, it's like a little mini vase, like, where like one flower can fit in it.
Oh, that's so cool. It's amazing. Yeah. I think a lot of, I do think that there is a string between musicians and ceramics. I feel like a lot of musicians get into ceramics, and I don't know why that is. I mean, a lot of artists,
like tactile with your hands, you create something out of nothing.
Yeah. And I think that there's like a quietness about it too. That's like, okay, this is going to take a while. It's something that you can't, I think she talked about this too. It's like, it's an art form that you can't rush, because like you have this clay, like, once you're done with it, it physically takes a specific amount of time to dry, and then you have to put it in a kiln, and that takes a certain amount of time, and then you have to glaze it, and that takes a certain amount of time. And there's just like there's all these rules that you just have to like leave it up to physics to finish. Like you can't, like a painting, you could just be like, I'm going to paint fast and then I'm going to get to the next one. And then, and it really is like, there's not all of these steps where you have to kind of go through, and it can be this really meditative, this meditative art form where you just have to like, let it go. Like, just like, I'm going to make my thing, but then it's just going to take like 3 days to do this thing because of how long it takes for everything to happen. And then you guys talked about kilns too. And it made me think, in my elementary school, they had a walk-in kiln. Like Whoa. They had a huge, like a corner of the room was this big kiln with shelves on it. And we did ceramics in like 5th and 6th grade. And we'd make these cups and whatever. And it was just part of art class. And you'd stack them in this huge walk-in kiln. And then the next day you'd come in and they'd be all finished, and you'd glaze them, and then the next day they'd come in, and or the next Wednesday or whatever. But it was this huge part of the art class. Like I can still see that art class, although it maybe seemed huge when I was that little. And you go back and like, no, it was this little tiny corner.
Little thing. Huh. No, I was surprised. I think there is a lot of infrastructure for kilns and for, this sort of thing like built into a lot of these educational institutions. I noticed even our kids, elementary school just has a kiln. Like it's in the back of the cafeteria and behind the multi-purpose room, but it's there. And I don't think anyone uses it.
They don't use it.
It becomes I don't know if it's a insurance liability, but I just think, schools and high schools and, colleges, community colleges are just, there was different investments in these kind of things. There was like shop class or wood shop.
Well, I'm sure clay PCC, and glazes and
PCC has a huge ceramics class and like a big kiln they use there. It's right over by the lunch area. I don't know if you've been on that campus in a while, but
I haven't been there for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, it exists. It exists out there in the world. It's probably easier than you think to get to some place to fire up something you make.
Yeah. I mean, even like I'm hoping someday that we'll be able to like, I'll be able to clear out, speaking of hoarding things, I need to clear out the garage of all of the stuff that I never touch. And I think that's my summer plan.
Oh, fun.
Get rid of all of my boxes of old cords.
Oh, okay. Yes. Yeah.
Cables.
If it doesn't work.
Don't even look at them. Like USB. It's like I have every single type of FireWire, USB, like every 25.
Well, those might be vintage at some point. Like if you have old FireWire 800s and 400s, so I would save those. Those are probably they're not making new ones of those.
They're going to be like
hold on to those things.
$400 coming up.
You know what I mean? Like if you think about it, somebody's going to have a hard drive somewhere. I'm like,
this is how a hoarder thinks, Randy.
There was a box of those. Well, just give them to me. Just give them to me. Don't just get rid of them. I'm just telling you.
You're like, let me put them in my box of cords.
I had a friend who does mastering and stuff, and asked because he knew I always brought in these old hard drives that I had. Well, they were contemporary hard drives at the time, but he always remembered me bringing them in when we'd make the records. And whatever, 15 years later, he's like, hey, do you have a FireWire 800 to 400 thing? I was like, and I looked back and I tried to keep all of my hard drives. I just tape the cord that goes with it, the power cable and the data cable, whatever it is. Like just tape. That's what I did.
I put them in big baggies.
Yeah, you just need it all together because you don't want to. One of those things without the other one is useless. So yeah, I remember I let him borrow it.
So funny.
I think I got it back, but it was the kind of feeling he's like, I remember somebody had this kind of hard drive. Who has this?
I know. I gave a FireWire connector to somebody once too. He's like, wait, you have one of those?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
Valuable. Yeah.
And he's like, can I borrow it? I found an old hard drive from like 15 years ago. I'm like, yep.
I gotcha.
I also have zip discs. Zip disc.
Yes.
I do not have a zip drive.
Jazz drives? Do you have a jazz drive?
I don't. No.
I have zip discs.
I have a couple zip discs and I'm like, this is the funniest thing. I have no clue. They probably held, I think those zip discs held like 20 photos, maybe 10.
You get like 25 megabytes on a zip disk?
Yeah. Something get a massive.
50 megabyte. Yeah, those were great. I had the old Roland SP808, not like drum machine 808, but it was like the groove box kind of thing, sort of, where it was a sampler and a 4-track recorder in one. And when we started No Age, I would use that for a lot for sampling and for recording. Those Weirdo Ripper songs were made on that, and I would take it live and I could trigger it. There was a foot pedal, so you could trigger samples and start tracks live and stop it.
Oh,
it
wow.
broke all the time on stage. Speaking of things just not working on stage, like fragile, even at that point, there's probably 20-year-old technology. And this was like mid 90s. I'm using it in the like late aughts or something, maybe 10-year-old. But it would already surpass the zip disk whole thing, and tried as best I could to like replace the zip drives because it would get corrupted and it wouldn't work. I did my best. I still have 2 of them here. I didn't get rid of them, of course, because
that's amazing.
Why would I get rid of that?
They put them in the No Age Museum.
But one of them is like missing the bottom from when I like took it apart and tried to fix it, and it's like it's a 57 Chevy. Like you can't, these things are all like printed circuit boards and hard patched together.
Oh my god!
But I loved those things. But yeah, the zip drives that was one of those things. Yeah, I have a handful of them. Just there's no use for it.
This is my summer of purging. So
good. Well, have you watched the Marie Kondo show where they're about
I can't watch that.
Does this spark joy?
It gives me so much anxiety to watch people with clean houses.
So her thing, which I really liked, I remember Shannon, I watched it whenever it came out, like 8 years ago or something. The whole thing was you take the piece, let's say it's a piece of clothing, like it's a jacket that you don't wear anymore. You haven't worn it for 10 years, but you remember when you got it, you really wanted it. It was important to have. And you hold it and you ask yourself, does this spark joy? And then you like, does this spark joy? Like, do I still feel joy from this thing? And if it's no longer sparking joy for you in your current life, but it used to, you thank it for what it's done. You appreciate it, you honor it, and you thank it for its use and for what it's done in your life. And then you let it go. And you put it in a box and you say, thank you. You've brought me joy in the past, but you no longer spark joy in my future. I don't need to carry this with me into the future. And then you let it go. You put it in a box to go somewhere else. And I just love that idea of having that kind of relationship, because I think that's part of that thing of like, but I used to love this. And you feel bad, and then you almost have to grieve a part of your life that doesn't exist anymore. And it becomes this more emotional interior escape of things. And I think we talked about this with like kids' toys and stuff. It's like, I don't want to throw away the kids. I blame the kids. Like, you kids got so many toys, but really I'm the adult. And I don't want to throw away their toys because I don't want to grieve the fact that they're too little that they used to play with these toys. And I don't want to have to grapple with this idea that they're not those little babies anymore, because that hurts. There's an emotional pain that comes with that. So I'd rather just avoid it and shove it into the closet or put it in a corner or put it in a box. And then
stack 10 boxes of Legos.
Exactly. And say, oh, it's the kids' fault. The kids got too many toys. But really, no, it's me as a parent. Like, I don't want to deal with my own emotional feelings of pain and sadness of letting that go and realize and accepting they're older. I still want to hold on to their youth.
Yeah.
Even though they don't really care, But
no.
If that box of Legos didn't exist in their life, they wouldn't even notice it. But for me to let that go. So it's the same sort of way of like with like older clothes or older things. I've had to go through this myself and kind of look at that thing and go, I used to fit in these jeans. I used to fit this small band t-shirt was great when I only weighed 120 pounds. I was so cool. And I missed that part of my life, or not that I miss it, but you grieve it because it's gone. It doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And so by holding on to these little things, it's like holding on to those little parts of yourself. And then you go, well, but I'm not using it. At this point, it's just taking up space. I don't need it. So
yeah. Well, if I think
all those
almost
cables.
Everything doesn't give me joy, but it gives me massive amounts of anxiety.
Well, then it might be time to part with it. Yeah, that might be a good.
I don't know,
way
but then that's
justifying
everything.
It. But if you, apply a mechanic, sort of like formulation or an algorithm in your brain of like, what level of anxiety does it have to exceed?
Yeah.
Threshold. What's your threshold? If it goes above this level of anxiety, then it really needs to go.
Yeah.
If it's below this thing, then you can keep it. I love having a middle ground too when I'm sorting stuff. And like I have the absolutely goes in the trash, and then I have the Goodwill thrift store. Like, I'm going to donate this. There's the trash pile, the thrift store pile, and then there's I'm going to hold this for another 6 months, my medium pile, and then there's
see where it goes.
So I kind of have gradations of it. There's like stuff I know I don't need and it's garbage. Stuff I think someone else could use. Stuff that I'm just not sure if I really need to not have this in my life, I kind of go, let me think about this when I come back to it. And I think that's okay. as long as not everything ends up there. You have to have some stuff going that get rid of in the thrift.
Yeah.
I think allowing myself to have that little release valve of like 6 more months helps at least alleviate some of that like hard thinking. Because again, especially if you're dealing with a lot of stuff, it's about the volume. Just go through everything. Don't get held up on each individual item.
Yeah.
That's why I would do that too. Like the one thing would throw me off.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, oh no, now I'm down a whole rabbit hole. Like this
I
one
know. I'd
thing
be like,
gonna,
I forgot I had this.
Wait, I got to go
And
plug
then,
this in. Does this still work? And then you're gone. Yeah.
And then you got to find all the other stuff that it goes with of like, wait a sec, where did that other box go?
Yeah.
Okay, wait, hold on. I
But
think
you
I
can't
still
do
need this. Oh, wait, I wanted to do that project. Okay, wait, no, this goes with okay, hold on.
Yep.
And then 2 days later, I'm like, I forgot to clean.
I forgot
I
the rest
stopped.
of it. Yeah. So yeah, I like defining a box or an area, or like, hey, just this side of the closet, just these 2 boxes. I'm gonna go through these 2 boxes. Like, keep it like create an attainable goal, like a small, you know what I mean? Keep it small, and then just do that one and try to go as fast as you can, not as fast as you can, but like get through the numbers of it, sort, and then go, okay, I did that one, and then put it away, and then you don't let the guilt overwhelm you with the other stuff. Nope.
Sometimes I wish someone would just come in and throw it all away.
Yep.
And then I just didn't even know. I didn't know what they touched. I didn't know but they came in, like we did an interview. We do an interview for like a intensive 2-day interview where we walked around and I talked about things, and it's like, here's where I got this, here's where I got that. And then I just go out of town for 2 days and then I come back.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And then I'm just like, this is it. And they get to take everything and sell it. I pay them maybe like an hourly fee for being there. And then they can take it and like they get their like
whatever they want to do with it.
Like it's like an estate sale for someone who's still alive.
Whoa. That's pretty good. That's a good like business idea.
Like a living estate sale.
Estate sale. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't have anything, and I don't get a list of what they took. I don't get anything. I don't know. I don't want to know. Just leave. But then I come back and I'm like,
a lot of room.
It's cleaner.
Yeah, I like
it's cleaner, and there's like a lot of like all these old paint jars that I have that have no paint in them anymore. But I'm like, you know what? Maybe I could what I should do is use these to mix new colors of paint and I'm gonna keep all these in this drawer.
Oh my God.
I think 3/4 of my stuff would just be gone. It would feel great.
There's something about this that reminds me of like, tell me you just turned 50 without telling me you just turned 50.
Yes.
Like,
yes, totally.
So like, so you turned 50. Would you like to sign up for our living estate sale program? Like, yes.
Yeah.
Just get rid of half your stuff.
Did you just get your AARP card? Well, we have a deal for you.
We're going to market.
We'd like to sell all your stuff.
Yeah. We'll come in. You won't even know it. For years, Shannon would joke with me about this. That's what she would do when I would leave for tour. I'd come back and I was like, what did you get rid of? And she's like, if you don't notice it, does it even really matter what I got rid of?
Yeah,
I'm like,
doesn't matter.
I guess not. But you got rid of something, right? She's like, uh-huh. I was like,
you're like, we're made for each other, aren't we?
Would I miss it? She's like, do you miss it? Can you even find it? Do you even know what it is? I was like, okay, I'm going to keep an eye out.
Yeah, I didn't get rid of anything.
Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. But you know what? If you don't know, then it doesn't matter. Like,
this is called moving on.
Yes.
Moving forward.
I see. Then I would have to ask, and then I would like, where's that one thing? She's like, oh yeah, I got rid of that. I'm like,
Speaking of fine, I mean, I don't want to. This is not a great
transition.
But should we end the show today with Val Kilmer?
Oh no, poor Val. That's right.
Yeah. You know, I met Val Kilmer. I hung out with Val Kilmer for a couple days.
Oh no. Okay. Tell the Val Kilmer story.
No. It's a weird story, but it's a good one.
That's what they all sound weird.
They all so I was reading all of these Val Kilmer stories of people, and I was like, yeah, all of them are weird. Like he is a weird, his trajectory was interesting and strange.
Yeah.
And, so he, as you know, I was shooting artwork, and his, as a lot of, more famous people do, they make art, or maybe they've always been painters or something.
Mm-hmm.
And they now have access to higher end things. And so I was shooting some stuff for Gagosian at the time for, I was shooting some of their events and doing some video work for them. And our friend Jeremy, who worked there, was like, "Hey, do you have any interest in shooting some images for Val Kilmer? He's been making these sculptures and paintings." And I was like, yeah, of course. Tell me where to go. And so I don't remember, he gave me his email or phone number or something. And he's like, yeah, we're going to shoot him at my house. I have all my paintings at the house. And I want to make they're just for me. And I want to make a catalog of all my work. So I'm like, cool. So I show up, and it's on the beach in Malibu. And I think I'm going to show up to this, big, huge house. It is the smallest, like maybe 2-room, I think maybe 1-bedroom, little tiny bungalow, like right on the beach, but like, I don't know, maybe like probably was there before everything else. It was like a little teeny tiny beach place.
Wow.
And, showed up, and
like not on a hill or not on the bluff above, like what down.
No, like literally,
sand?
like you stand on the deck, and the waves are crashing right below you. But like, it was maybe 500 square feet, maybe. And it had like a little bedroom, and he opened the door, and this was, I don't know, 8 years ago, maybe. And he was like, I was like, how's it going? And he's like, hey. And, right.
Cause he had throat cancer.
Yeah, but I didn't know this. And it was not public.
No one
knew. He also didn't tell me. He didn't explain it at all. And so he was, talking like this. And I was like,
is he fucking with me? Is he doing like,
yes,
like a blues musician kind of thing? Like
100%. Hey, he never mentioned it. He never said anything.
He's doing a Tom Waits biography. He's getting into
oh my God. And I was like, okay, maybe he's just hoarse or something, I don't know. Maybe he's sick.
Yeah.
Like just has a cold or something. And then, but it was like really, like I couldn't even hear his words barely. And then, but he was not like, we were talking, and he was like, here's all this stuff. And I come in, and there's just beach towels, like a pile, like piles of beach towels going with things underneath them, but beach towels. And he's like, yeah, all the paintings are under there. I just want all of them shot. So maybe on the floor or wherever. But this room is like 100 square feet. It's like a little tiny
10 by
den.
10. Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, these things are like 24 by 36. They're on steel. And he had like 200 of them.
Like steel, like plates?
Like plates of steel. Yeah.
And there was paintings on them.
Like he painted on the steel. And and they were, but he used beach towels in between to stack them up against each other. And he's like, I got to go to CVS to get more towels. And so he like drove to CVS to like get more beach towels to put in between these things. And he's like, yeah, just shoot him. And so I was shooting him, and I would show him, and he liked what I was doing. And then it was just like,
just churn and burn.
How many days do you think this is going to take? And I'm like, I have 3 days. Okay, just come back tomorrow. And so whatever. So I'd be in there, and I was just shooting over and over again. With
natural light, or did you bring a whole lighting kit? Or?
No. I had to like put my lights in there, and it was this little tiny old room, and they were. Did you get the sense he was living there, or was that his like art? Oh yeah,
studio?
no, he was renting it from a friend, so it was like his friend's beach house. But he had that big ranch in like New Mexico or something that he lived in normally, and then he would come here and make his art. But then, the most of the time he was watching. He was like in his room watching like women's volleyball or something. I don't remember what it was, but really loud. And then he would come out just like in his boxers. He's like, how's it going? And you want some coffee? And I'm like, okay, go get some coffee. And he makes me, it's like Senka, like a instant coffee. Yeah.
Like Folgers or something.
So just like boils it in this little pot and then pours, how much coffee do you want? And he's like pouring freeze-dried coffee in there.
Is there not even a full kitchen? It's like a small, almost like a hotel.
No, it's like a little tiny, it's like a little cabin.
Wow.
I mean, but it was like, it was surreal. And I think I've had a couple moments like that, and you probably have too, touring,
Of
where
course, yeah.
you're in a house where you're like, how did I get here? But I was just like, I was just there for it, and I was like, yeah, it's Val Kilmer. Like I just remember we used to watch, what was that movie where he did surfing safari, but he was with the shotgun, skeet surfing. Do you remember
No.
that? This was like in the 80s. It was like a just you should just look it up. Top Secret. Top
Oh,
Secret.
okay,
Do
okay.
you
Yeah.
remember that movie?
Yes.
He was the main character in Top Secret. And so then he did like skeet surfing, was this like big music video. I don't know. I don't remember. But so I was just sitting there going, oh my God, this is the guy. This is the guy that was skeet surfing. That was like in Top Secret when I was 13 or 14, whatever. And then he would just come out every once in a while, and it would always be kind of weird. He was he was working on the I don't know. He was working on a play, or he was supposed to be doing this play, and then he got, what I found out later, not even for like months later, because every time I went there, he had the throat thing, and it was over a matter of months, and I'm like, okay, so he's not, I don't know what's going on. And then I heard like a year later, he announced that he had the throat cancer. But yeah, and we were shooting it, and then all of a sudden he would come in, he's like, all right, you're done for the day. I'm like, well, I still have these couple. He's like, nope, you're done. I want like 10 minutes. And I was like, oh, okay. And I pack up and leave. And then we'd be shooting, like one of the days we were shooting stuff, and he had all these boxes. He called them God boxes. You could probably look them up.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. I'm looking at some
and
of
he
his art here.
made
Yeah.
all these boxes, and they just said God on them everywhere, and he'd stack them up. And he is like, I mean, I don't know, it's like I think for art, for a
For
I actually
an actor.
liked some of his the paintings on the steel. I think were good. Like he used all these different. He had put them outside and let them rust, and then paint on them. And I thought some of those were pretty cool. The God boxes were a little weird, but then when he'd stack them up and like make like 100 of them, and that was pretty interesting. I mean, for actor art, for sure. I mean, that's like a real thing, It's like Pierce Brosnan also does artwork,
no.
but he was a painter before. He was a painter before he was an actor, and I got to shoot his stuff as well recently, and he's like the best dude ever. The best.
Really?
Like
That's
the
hilarious.
nicest, the best. All he wants to do is hang out with artists. Like when he goes and does movies, he finds the local art scene, and he just like goes to the galleries. He goes to studio visits. He just wants to hang out with painters and artists and like talk about painting, and it's the best. And he's got some great paintings too.
That's
But
wild.
yeah,
Johnny Depp? You ever hung out?
the last day
Johnny
with
Depp?
I don't know anything about Johnny Depp.
Okay.
Although
I think he's an artist too. I think.
I do know our friends bowled with him one night randomly at a bowling alley and said he was a really nice guy.
That's good.
But that the last time that I saw Val Kilmer was that he was just like, all right, you got to go. And it was like, but we have these new, I don't care. You're done. You got to go. And it's like Memorial Day. You got to get out of here. I got people coming over. And I was like, oh, okay. So I was like packing up. And then all of a sudden these like women came in, his friends or whatever came in to hang out. And he's like, all this, he's like having a party. And I'm like, wait, why are you having a party? I'm like, my stuff's all over the place. I didn't say anything.
but
so like packing up, hey, and I'm like,
in an hour, I have people coming over. Like,
no, it was like, you gotta go. Like, I got people coming
in
over.
5 minutes, they'll be here. Like, clean up all your shit.
Yeah. And I was like, you don't want me to finish this? He's like, nope, we're done. Okay. We're done for the day. And then that was the last, that was it. That's the last time I shot.
And you never saw him since then.
I mean, I sent him photos, and every year he'd be like, hey, do you know where those photos are? And I'm like, oh,
you mean the ones I sent you?
Yeah. Here's the link.
And you never shot any more. It was just that.
No, it was for like, I feel like I went there maybe 3 or 4 times over a couple months, maybe. but it was one of those like great, like, yeah, right. This is why I love being in LA, because of these weird, like I'll have this weird story forever. And I felt like it at the beginning, it was so weird because he didn't mention anything about he was going through or anything.
Yeah.
And so that to me was like, he was doing, what was we should look up the play he was doing. Wyatt Earp.
Okay.
He was going to do a Broadway.
Not Mark Twain.
Oh no, it was Mark. He was in the Wyatt Earp movie, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it was
Doing
Mark
Twain plays.
I think he was going to do Mark Twain, and then he got sick.
Oh.
But so there was all this Mark Twain stuff all over, and there was like books and you know, but it just was never. So I was like, this is the weirdest dude. He was like like talking.
Yeah,
strange
with no
the whole
explanation.
time,
You didn't know.
and
Yeah.
and then I was like, oh, okay, there we go. That makes more sense. But he was a really nice guy, but then he would just like turn on a dime and be like,
fuck off.
Yeah. Yeah, get out. Like, okay.
Well, all right then.
There we go. But then if you look, there's a bunch of good stories. If you just go through all the photographers, like Chris McPherson. Do you know Chris McPherson, the photographer? No. He has a great, I mean, he's shot everybody, and he's like the greatest dude. But he has all these great editorial stories he was really big editorial, like kind of changed a lot of the way editorial photography was done from the late 90s into the early 2000s. And he had a great story if you just go to his Instagram about hanging out, shooting Val Kilmer in New Mexico, and have him go like, nope, we're not shooting today. We're going to shoot tomorrow. And you're like, okay. And then coming back the next day, nope, we're just going to hang out today and drink, drink and walk around and we'll shoot tomorrow. And like, okay, when is this going to happen? Pushing it. But yeah, I think that I don't think you get to that point without being a little strange and quirky and weird and all those good things.
So interesting. Yeah, I remember when Sean Carnage, who ran Pearspace, like that, kind of art space, underground art space over there, just near, Echo Park. He showed some footage somewhere at Zebulon for something. I forget why, but he was showing footage of Pearspace, and there was a Dan Deacon show. And at that point, Dan was already too popular. I mean, the space could hold maybe 50 people uncomfortably, 10 people comfortably, or whatever. It was a very small kind of art gallery that have shows, but there was Dan Deacon was playing there. And so there was probably 200 people spilling out into the parking lot, and Val Kilmer came with his son. I think his son was a Dan Deacon fan, and is maybe 15 or 16 or something like that. And then Val came in, and then Dan, incorporated Val Kilmer into like the dance, because Dan would do this whole kind of a call and response and sort of get people to do the hokey pokey and do a conga line around a place and stuff. So he incorporated Val Kilmer into that. And there was this kind of just like shaky camcorder footage of like Val Kilmer and his son hanging out with Dan Deacon at Pearspace. And I was like, whoa, so okay, funny. That's just a world, you just don't think about, coming across that you would even know any of those things.
So, well, and then there was wild. That movie recently, right, where he used to take his video camera around to all of the behind the scenes of all those movies that he was in. And he used to just shoot video of everything.
And I think his kids put that together. It's called Val. It's kind of,
right.
I didn't see it.
I feel like
it seemed kind of morbid or
I feel like I saw
narcissistic or something.
Part of it. Well, it was interesting because he came from like not Hollywood, which I didn't know. Like it's like a kind of down and out kind of story of growing up. And then the fact that he just had a video camera and kind of filmed everything throughout the 80s and 90s that's pretty interesting and weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, R.I.P. Val Kilmer.
I know.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I just keep thinking of Top Gun quotes. I don't know.
Iceman.
Yeah. He's a real wingman.
Yeah.
He'll be the wingman. All right, man. Well, have a good one. Have a good week. I will be back on Thursday with another interview. Train will keep on rolling.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll see you next week.
All right, man. Take care.
All right.
We'll see you
later.
Bye.